you know, you should buy American and you should, that type of thing. I mean, we did a lot of argumentaries because BMW is a German company. But the men and women who work at plant Spartanburg, who work in that Spartan plant, are South Carolinians and Americans. Do we have Germans who work there? Yes, we do. Is our parent company a German company? Yes, but we are a South Carolina company. So we really had to do some balancing. Michelin went through the same thing. And that was also sort of what was going on with U.S. President and the French President. Didn't hurt them at all. Whereas we, German Chancellor and we weren't so far apart. But those are things you have to think about because it can bite you in the butt real quick. And we handled it from the standpoint of, yes, our parent company is German. Do we have German executives? Yes, we do. But the men and women who work in this plant primarily are South Carolinians, probably living in your neighborhood. And it works. So there has to be that give and take. If we're launching new cars, if we are moving things, moving models from plant to plant, there is collaboration so that we know what's going on. And I mean, sometimes there are going to be questions. I mean, we get calls on sales. Sales reports come out of BMW North America, which is a sales subsidiary. And, you know, sometimes X5 and X6 are up, sometimes they're down, and depending on, there's discussion with us on how they're going to craft that. I mean, we went through a period one time where, you know, U.S. sales were weak, and the reason they used is because we were shipping all the cars overseas. Well, those are sales. They're not U.S. sales, but they are sales. For our plant, it was good. Our production was being sold. Not all of it. We're a world plant. Every car we built is only built at the Spartanburg plant, and we export to about 130 markets worldwide. So from a balance standpoint, from a U.S. standpoint, I understand why they were worded that way. But it was, don't throw us under the bus because European sales or overseas sales are strong. And that happened through 2009. U.S. sales were teetering, going down, but world sales were going up. And world sales were going up, not to be a braggart, was because of the X5 and the X6. So you have to balance those things, and you got to have those conversations so that you aren't stepping on each other. And sometimes you step on each other, and you just got to step on each other. You see things differently, and you just got to work it through.
Bunny, tell us what it's like to work with some of the news media from other countries, some of the international news media that you've worked with, and what some of the differences are that you've seen.
I guess the major difference with some of the overseas press is that they don't have the, with a U.S. reporter and a U.S. newspaper, Ringle News, Spartanburg Herald Journal, I can barely buy them lunch. It's not barely. I can't buy them lunch.
You can barely give them a glass of water, right?
Barely, barely. I mean, if we're having an event, we tell them, if we're giving away a gift, we tell them what that gift is, we tell them what that value is. And part of that is based on the Sigma Delta Chi ethics policies. With some of the overseas journalists, some of the international, everything is paid for. They're coming over to do a story for us. BMW is going to pay the airfare, pay their food, pay their hotel, and that's is quite different with American journalists. And I had to sort of get, not that I have, but when you're working with other communications people, and, you know, like somebody came in and wanted to buy a scarf. And I took them to the Zentrum to buy a scarf, and said, what's wrong? I mean, did you lose something? Did you lose something? Oh no, it's so-and-so's birthday and we're gonna give them a scarf. I mean, Jenny Monroe, Trevor Anderson looked at me and said, have you lost your mind? So it is a little different. Overseas press, not all of them tend to be academics more so than, let's say, majoring in journalism, working in newspapers. They may come at it from an engineering or an academic standpoint.
Is language barriers a problem?
Sometimes. I mean, you have, one of the beauties is that many international journalists do speak English, but not all of them do. I mean, I speak German, but I don't speak German well enough to do interviews and that type of thing. Maybe if I did it, maybe if I had been in Munich and did it all the time, I would. So those are things you have to consider from an understanding standpoint. I mean, even translation, the first press kit, not the first press kit, second press kit I did, and I had it translated into 5 or 6 languages, but B&W Group wouldn't approve the German translation that I had done. Because sometimes there isn't a word. I mean, you've got this English word and there really isn't a German word. It may be a paragraph or it may be something different. And when you're talking about engineering and technical things, it becomes very critical. It's almost more important that you write it in that language rather than you translate from English to that language. So there's some challenges.
Do you have like a permanent native speaker on staff or anything like that?
We've got people that we work with, and we really don't have a permanent native speaker. We translate, because in Germany you can be in Bavaria and you can be in the northern part, and the language is different. Sort of like the U.S. in some ways. I mean, still base English, but it's very different. Northern German is very formal. Southern German is very informal. So there are challenges such as that you have to deal with along the way. And that's true when you're doing, we're preparing to launch the X3, and we'll do international launch. It'll be based in Atlanta, and some of the groups will come to Spartanburg, so we have to balance that with having translators and making sure that, and we'll have native speakers. We'll have people with the German group, we'll have some of our AK colleagues there. But you have to make sure that it doesn't get lost in the translation and that you understand what you're saying. So it is, that's true even with English. Do you